we doing?
I'm good. I was waiting patiently here, just
I
fiddling.
Hey, thank you for making it happen. Hey, we talked about this. Like we're doing it live, so it's gonna be we're gonna take this airplane. It's gonna be rough a little bit sometimes. It's gonna be
Yeah.
the way it is.
Leo, I was just thinking, you just pulled off like a one-man show right now, like a one-man conference. Like you put this whole thing together. You're the cameraman, you're the promoter, you're the MC. So what an amazing job.
Thank you, thank you. And and then while we were I was texting everybody, hey, we need 15
I
more.
know. That's exactly why I was laughing. You text me, right? And I was like, this is so funny. Like you need an assistant now. I don't know.
Absolutely, that's for sure on my to-do list for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
But
already getting ideas for the next one. But
great job. Great job though.
thank you
This
for
is the
being
power
on.
this is the power of technology though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for being on, Rosie. Thank you for blessing us with your time. For those of everybody out there listening, please tell everybody your story. Tell them who you are.
Okay. Well, my story. So, I heard a couple of different stories on here, and I was just so impressed by everyone. I think I heard Elmer's $1.92 story, and that
Oh
was
my God, yes, that was so good.
that was good. And so, that kind of inspired me a little bit to share. So my story is that I came from absolutely nothing, and very early on, my parents passed away when I was, 13 and 15, and
Wow,
um, subsequently, we ended up losing our home. And
my
when
God.
that happened, that was kind of traumatic for me. It was 4 or 5 years later. It was just a bunch of complicated things, but I remember my very first call when I was trying to figure that out was to a company called Long Beach Bank. I was at a payphone and I was trying to figure out what the solutions were. And anyways, for a number of reasons, it didn't work out. And from that point on, I said, one day I'm going to buy my house back. And I was just getting into USC, and I was going to go into business, and I was going to figure it out, one day. And so uh, I got married, bought our first house, and when that occurred, I connected with the loan broker who helped us, and I said, one day when I graduate, would you hire me? And he said yes. So I went back to him, and when I graduated, and I was going to work for $500 a transaction. I didn't care. I had a great degree, but I wanted to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then he didn't hire me. So I went. No, he didn't hire me. He never called me back. So he missed out. I was cheap labor at the time, right? $500 a deal. So, anyways, I ended up opening up the paper. I found a place that was hiring, and I went into the business. And that was in 1996. That's when I got into the business. I learned it really quickly, probably because I was interested. And I moved on I became a branch manager within 6 months. A year later, I found that there was another world. I went to the broker world. And then a couple of years after that, I opened up my own mortgage company. I've had that for 20 years. Along the way, I opened up an escrow company, had that for 17 years. And then I kind of got bored in 2004, and I opened up a Keller Williams office, and I had about 150 agents in 2008. And then everybody headed for the hills. I didn't. I was stubborn. I wanted to lose money. So, so I stuck it out. And made it through the crash. All the companies made it through the crash. I kept my properties. I've invested through the years, and then I had my son. And once I had him, I decided that I was going to have to kind of let one plate go, because I had a very big little piece of meat there to
Right?
to take care of. So
Yeah.
I decided to kind of let go of the least profitable side of my business, and that was the brokerage, owning the brokerage.
Mm,
And so, I know that we've talked about this before, and I want to kind of share. Well, that's my story.
thank you.
2 years ago, I came across a different real estate model. I joined that, and then today I have over 1,100 agents across the country.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
been fun.
Yep. Wow.
Yeah,
That's extraordinary. In 2.5 years.
not yet. Yeah, two and a
Yeah.
half. I'll be at 1,500. Yeah, 2 more months. I'll be at 1,500 agents. Yeah,
Oh my God. Oh my
yeah.
God. Congratulations on that. That's
Thank
extraordinary.
you. Thank you. And yeah, so that's a little bit of my story. Along the way, I had 3 kids and kind of adopted one, so I've got 4. And been married for 25 years, and
Wow. You do a
done
little
amazing
bit of
things.
everything, Rosie. What's going on over here? You're taking over the world.
I take, you know
All
what?
right. Hey, well, I'm gonna ask you a question. So,
Yeah,
how did you get this brain? Now, like, how did you get your mindset like this? Like, what made you get like this?
that's a good question, and I think it has to go back. It has to go back to my childhood. Where my father's passing at 13 was a surprise.
Mm,
I knew he was sick. I didn't know he was going to pass away, and I was actually the first one to receive the call.
oh my God.
Um, and then my mother's passing was also a surprise. And I say that I didn't understand what cancer was. She passed away from cancer.
Wow.
But during the time between my mother and my father's passing, my mother didn't speak any English, and so she really relied on us to, write out the check for the mortgage. Talk to the schools, talk to the. I mean, we had to talk to uh, doctors and translate, because she didn't understand English. So I think that very early on, Leo, I had to figure things out. And, it was me and my sister and my brother, but it was just, you just fall into it, right? You fall
Wow.
into it. You have to figure out what you got to do, and then you do it. And
Forced to grow. You had to grow at that
you
point.
had to, yeah, you're forced into whatever the situation is. And so, after she passed, and I was the last one with her too. After she passed, I think that kind of reality set in, and I'm blessed to have an aunt who moved in with us, and she's been like a second mom. However,
I love your aunt.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah, she's so cute. All right, like everybody who knows her loves her. She's this little tiny. She is really a four
Yeah,
feet of.
she's 4 foot something. I know. Yeah, I know. She's awesome. She has so much energy.
She does. She does. But I had to. It was just if it was going to happen, it was up to me. Whatever was going to happen, it was going to be up to me. And I knew that I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be. I lived in a really bad area. I didn't want to be another pregnant girl. Or someone on drugs. I wanted to make something of my life because my parents sacrificed theirs. To give me,
Wow.
every opportunity.
Yeah.
So I kind of adopted an attitude of gratitude. I was just became very grateful for what I did have, for the blessings that I was able to, be blessed with, and I decided to make something of my life, and then I got to work. I got to work and just
Wow.
figure things out. So
I felt that, Rosie. Thank you so much for sharing it. I felt that from the heart. So thank you so much for who you are and everything you've been through. And man, that's the fire, right? That's the
that's
fire.
the,
That's the fire.
we I think we only have a limited amount of time. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is promised. And so, ego kind of goes out the door, and fear, because you don't you don't have anything that's guaranteed. You don't really have it. People have a false sense of security. You think that tomorrow something's going to happen. You think that you're going to have 10 years to figure this out, or 5 years. And it's good to play the long game. And in everything that I've done, it's always been about the long game for me. Like, I always plan for the future. And the reason I plan for the future is because I don't have any guarantees, of tomorrow, you
Mm,
know. And so if I'm going to spend my time today on whether it's a business, a relationship, or whatever my hobby is, if I'm going to spend my most valuable time today on something, then it's got to leave a fruit for tomorrow, whether it's a fruit for my kids, or it's a fruit for my business, or if it's my footprint, on this planet, if it's an impact. I would like to, when I am no longer here, have just all these amazing relationships and saying, damn, I miss Rosie.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, that's gonna happen for a long time, right, Rosie?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, we're good.
we're good. I need you around for 100 more years. Come on now, we
Oh,
got a
I'm
lot.
here. Oh, I got you. I got like I'm only like my effective age is like 25.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
this because You know, like I'm up at, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just always
Yeah, you're always up.
excited.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So thank you for answering that question. I was going to ask you what time you wake up, Rosie, but I already know. But everybody should have known that 4 to 5 o'clock. So where like ask? I guess for you're speaking on more of a because you're coming from a business standpoint. You're someone that's hugely passionate about passive income. I think that a lot of more people should be paying attention to that. But just how does someone get into that? Like what would you say is like some beginning steps for somebody that's just starting off on that track?
Well, I'll kind of go back to my comment before. It's like you have to play the long game. You have to look at the long term, effect of the decision you make. So, someone gets started. You're going to buy your first property, right? So my very first property, I put it on a 15-year note, not a 30, because I figured if I'm going to pay an extra $200, but by the time I'm 35, 40, I'm going to have this property paid off. Why not? I could do the third, an extra $200. So someone who's starting off, look at the very first purchase you're going to make and strategize. Think about that. Don't make it a condo. Don't make it a house. Go buy units, right? Because you can buy as a first-time buyer again. So talk to someone who knows about how to move your money, how to accumulate,
Well.
assets, wealth, right? Because what I've learned in this business is that so many people, although they're excellent salespeople, they don't always plan for the future, and so then that means they're working, their whole lives. They're holding on to their job their whole life. And I didn't want to keep my job. I mean, my goal was 35 and I'm out. And then I went and got crazy and did something fun, right? Like open up a real estate office.
Something only you would do when you're bored, Rosie.
Yeah. I said, hey, why not, right? Um, but but think about what you're doing and think about how what you're doing this moment is going to create income for tomorrow. If you're purchasing a property, boom. If you're making money in real estate, how are you going to use that as a vehicle? Growing a team. If I think of how I do my work, then I think of how I can duplicate my work. And then I look for people that are better at things than I am.
Yeah.
And then I've created leverage, and then I've started building a business, right? Yeah. And then walking away from the business. That's you've got to think of that too, right? Are you building something of value? Is it worth something, or is it just a job?
I love what you're saying. I think it's a big missing in our industry that people don't pay attention to that, because I see too many people that are they're doing the same thing they did when they started in the business. 20 years into it, they're still doing the same exact thing. And that's something that people need to slow down. Like you said, start to think and really create something and talk to somebody. Like, hey, humble yourself. Talk to someone that's already doing it, that's accumulated the wealth. I guess I'm going to ask you this question. We've got 2 minutes. So but just really quick, what's your vision for the next 5 years, Rosie?
My vision for the next 5 years, I'd like to be able to that's a good question, Leo.
I know. I put you on the spot there, Rosie.
Okay, so I'd like to have I'm gonna say I'd like to have a net worth of about 50 million. I'm about a fifth of the way there. I'd like to have a net worth of about 50 million. In accumulated, assets, and then in passive income, I would like to have. I think I'd like to be in 5 years. I'd like to be at about 10 million passive.
Wow.
Isn't that a fun idea? Like, isn't that exciting?
I hear freedom. Freedom. Yeah.
And along with freedom, it's what are you capable of, right?
My God.
And until you take that first step into something that's risky and unfamiliar, you're not going to expand your view. I would have never said that to you, Leo, like 2 years ago.
I know you. I know.
Because I probably didn't say it. I said, give me $1 million and I'm good, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. This is something that I said the other day, and I'm going to end with this.
Yeah, because you got like 30 seconds. Let's go. All right.
People say, one day when I buy my house, when I have rentals, when I own my business, when I, lose the weight, when I whatever, they say one day when I. But the thing is that you have to become the person who can attain that. You have to become